Hey kids, welcome to the Capital Life Podcast. I am your host, Abby Pagud. This is where we talk about all the things that life brings, the good, the bad, and of course, the healthy. And today we have another episode of Keeping It Real with Real People. And the title of this episode is The Mystery of Suffering, Why the Hard Parts Shape Us. And I have our guest today is Miss Laura Dunworth, who is just become an awesome friend over a very short period of time, almost like instant kindred spirits. This chick is amazing, and I cannot wait to get started. Welcome to the Capital Life, Laura.
Thank you, Abby. I'm so happy to be here. What a wonderful introduction.
Now, I love the fact that, we met in kind of like in the new age times of internet, of here's strangers popping up, and it kind of gave me a little bit of the MySpace vibes, or like the AOL chat rooms of like, who is this person? But then as we connected, we instantly just got each other, and I think you're a massive blessing to this world. I love the work that you do, and I even had you on as one of my guest spotlights for the community already, because you are pure magic, and I just love your light.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, right back at you. We are definitely kindred souls for sure.
Yeah. This episode of The Capital Life is brought to you by Be Zen Holistic Wellness Center, where modern tools meet ancient wisdom to help you reclaim your health and rediscover balance. Nestled in the heart of Allen, Texas, Be Zen offers multidisciplinary approach to empowering you to take the lead in your health journey. Whether you're navigating fatigue, weight changes, migraines, menopause, allergies, GI issues, or chronic pain, Be Zen's expert team is here to guide you. They will help you restore balance, enhance your well-being, and feel healthier, happier, and more at peace. Visit Be Zen Holistic Wellness Center today, and let's get back to the basics of being human together. Did you know that we at Capital Health have been working on an app that's never been created before? And with all the excitement around it, we've decided to give you an opportunity to become a Capital Health founder. Capital Health founders get exclusive perks, including 3 to 6 months of full access of the app, a Capital Health t-shirt, and future founder-only benefits. The app itself is designed to meet you where you are, assessing your needs and creating customized workouts and personalized nutrition tailored specifically to you. In short, it's like having a trainer, nutritionist, and energy coach in your pocket without the massive expense of hiring each one individually. Founder opportunities are limited and only are available before the launch date. So head on over to capitalhealth.com to learn more on how to become a Capital Health founder and achieve your ideal health. Please like, share, and rate us on whatever platform you're listening. It's how we start to really spread the message of good in the world that needs it so much right now. If you find this helpful or insightful, don't forget to connect with us on Facebook and YouTube at Capital Health. That's KAPITOL Health. Also, visit us at capitalhealth.com and subscribe to our newsletter and get wicked awesome updates. So it's so interesting because, as we get into some of these stories, it's like this month has been, we are literally going from pressure to purpose. Like, there's no question about it. Like, the theme right now is pressure to purpose. We've been dealing with struggle. We've been dealing with ambition. We've been dealing with mystery. We've been dealing with our limitations. And it's just been a massive, you feel like you're in the pressure cooker right now. Like, you really do. Like, we're shedding the skin of the snake, and we are evolving into that fire horse energy, and shit is getting busy.
It is. It's getting busy and it's getting done. I just feel like there's such a pressure to to create and to get things out there into the world.
Yeah. I almost feel like I don't have time. Like, time escapes me, but then I also have to remember that's part of the point. Like, divine timing is like, you got to trust the reason why. My husband forgot his laptop this morning, and he's like, "Oh, I fucked up." And I'm like, "Did you really though? Because you just forgot your laptop." I was like, "Can't you is the work computer?" And the next thing, he had to drive home. Well, the funny thing is that before he had left for work today, all of a sudden something kind of dinged inside me, and I go, I need you to drive safely to work. Like, just be cautious. And then lo and behold, he comes home and he's worried about his laptop. And I was like, actually, I think you probably avoided an accident or two that could have distracted you. Or, there's always that divine timing.
For sure. And and trusting it is part of the process. I definitely
Good
have
old trust.
Ah. Well, and it's funny. I had a friend say something to me the other day that just completely resonated with me. It's kind of like, she said, "Are you feeling a fatigue of trust?" And I said, I kind of am. It's like, I know that I trust and I'm trying to trust, but sometimes when you've been waiting for something to manifest, you get a little impatient with trusting.
Well, we didn't get a blueprint. You know what I mean? Like, we came down to Earth School without a blueprint, right? Like, our parents didn't get a blueprint on how we work. And then, like, neither did anybody else. Where if anybody could just, like, plop down onto the world and be like, oh, she's a manifesting generator with emotional authority and by, like, split definition. And, oh, by the way, she's a hermit. Like, oh, wow, that would be really intensive of when Abby needs to shut down. Leave her be in her slumber in her little cocoon and just let her regenerate. She'll come out and she'll pop out like a psycho in a second, or Jack in the Box. Let's say Jack in the Box.
I totally
a little bit nicer.
Well, and we need that time. We need that time to come back inward because we are processing so much. We're going through so much, and we need stillness. And I was talking to another new friend, kindred spirit, the other day, and she's all into acronyms. And she said, I have one, you can use it. And she said, it's the word pause. And it stood for perhaps another unseen solution exists. And I was like, oh, bam. That is right. Don't you love that? And so
it gives grace, it gives compassion, it gives time to process. And it gives you just the comfort and ease of allowing things to happen as they're supposed to be. That's a beautiful
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
I created a post and I tagged us both in it. And I'm, it's just kind of like, okay, this is yours, but I'm going to share it because it needs to get out there. It was just perfect timing.
You know what? And that's the thing is, like, I think that sometimes what we forget sometimes is like, okay, like the ego takes over a little bit with some of the work that we do. Cause you find someone that's doing something and they picked up on the same collective messaging, right? Like the download came from the same place. And then you find similarities, but the fact is the delivery is different. You have to trust the delivery is different because how I process it versus how you process it, the people that are attracted to our energies, our messaging,
right?
They hear it a particular way. And so it's like the more that we can actually unify and multiply and kind of play off of each other, but also lift each other up, we get to do 10,000 more times ripple effect, right?
It's so true.
Going.
Yeah, partnerships. I mean, that's a word that just keeps popping up. Those are opportunities that keep coming up. Like, being with you here today, it's like, oh, we have an opportunity to partner and to co-create and to get something out to both of our communities. And like you said, that it just enhances that ripple and gives it more, it gives it more reach, but it gives it more oomph too. It gives it more 100%. Energy.
Yeah. So, and just to go into a little bit about you, even though I talked about how awesome you are, I didn't talk about what you actually do. So just for our audience sake, I want them to know that you are a teacher, a healing guide, a yoga meditation, breath work. You do sound and energy healing, even though they're kind of the same and whatever, right. But titles, we're physical beings. We need the titles. Specifics is always important. But it's like, there's a lot of, you have a method to your madness very similar to mine, where I mold myself to my clients and their needs and then provide them what that is. You also have done the same, where when you find yourself called to do more expansive work, you go and you you go into a deeper dive, you add it to your repertoire, and then you provide that for your client base, even utilizing. And you've been kind of a little bit in the field a little bit longer than I have, actually. So you're kind of one of the I put you in a category of an OG, like, for sure. You're not in the 70, 80-year-old OGs, but you're definitely in one of the first wave type healers. So you definitely have a little bit more historic backing than I do.
Well, we all have our catalysts in our journey, right? We all start when the universe says, "Bam, here you go."
Yeah. And I want to really talk about some of that catalyst for you, because you know, one of the things we pride ourselves on and talking about on the Capital Life is how our life experiences really end up contributing to what we're creating, what our purpose is, where we go, where we had to go, right? It's like, you could go through into the different theories of, life experiences, where they came from, why they came from. We have so many, I'm not going to bore you with gene keys and human design and all the different conversations of that. But it's like when we're going through some of the traumas in our life that end up happening to us, right? Like, the happening to us puts us into victimization. And then it creates a longer delay of that healing out of the trauma, when we kind of realize that we had more choices in going through the healing process and that evolution of self. But you ended up having some major things that came up. Not just were you a product of divorce of your parents, but also the loss of your brother. And can you share with us, how old were you first when the rents went split stews, and what that was like? Just because every family experiences different things when it comes to that type of stuff. Some of them are completely necessary, and then some of them are more traumatic than others. But can you kind of just take us through, how old were you? What was some of that you went through, and how did it change some of your focal points?
Yes, definitely. I do feel like that was, looking back, that definitely was the kind of the first catalyst there. I was about 5 years old, and my younger brother, 3 years younger, so he was two. And we had been living in Hawaii because my father was stationed in the Air Force there. We moved back to Michigan, which is where I was born and my parents were from. And then when they divorced, my mother stayed with my brother and I in Michigan. My father moved back to Hawaii. So I don't know, 5,000 miles away, something crazy like that. And
Which
so
is losing a major fundamental component to your upbringing, especially for a female, when you don't have the father dynamic. Even men not
yeah,
having that father role model. And it was I might say it is a form of abandonment, because it hits that core wound of, am I worthy enough? Like, it hits that abandoned and that reversal trust. There's a lot of trust that gets broken there, right? And
exactly. Well, and it's interesting because I do feel like we all kind of spiritually have a little bit of abandonment issues, because we leave behind our spirit families and the divine when we incarnate, and so we don't remember a lot of that, and that's obviously that kind of the initial abandonment. But
which is why it hits hard when we're here.
it does, it hits
It hits
really
at a
hard.
deeper, raw core
And
wound.
and then it pops up in other ways, like when my oldest child left for college, I started revisiting all those abandonment wounds again. It's kind of like, okay, he's going to college, that my brain knows that my heart is struggling.
I
And
have
so
problems with sharing. I have problems. I didn't realize I had problems with share. I love them so much that I don't want to share them with other people.
yeah,
And like,
it's true, it's
and
true.
I'm learning that, oh, wait a second, the more I can learn to share them to others, the more people love them, the more they're embraced and embodied by others. And then, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
ego.
right.
Ugh, like,
Well, and I feel like, yeah, obviously abandonment was a huge part of it. But when you're a child too, you kind of feel like you really shouldn't be upset and angry with your parents. It's, you don't really know how to express that. And so that was the beginning of me putting on a smile. Everything's fine, swallowing my feelings. starting to store all that emotional energy in my body.
Right.
And I've actually been writing some posts about that. A very early memory for me is first grade. And I was in first grade. And well, another thing about the divorce is I went to 5 different elementary schools. We were always moving. We never felt settled. So I was the new kid, I was swallowing my feelings. I had all this stuff going on, and I was in first grade, and we were doing a writing assignment, and my hands started sweating so badly that the paper got all wet, and I tore through the paper like with my pencil and eraser. And I just was so mortified and so embarrassed and didn't want the teacher to see or anybody else to see. And I didn't know what was going on, but now knowing later, that was just all of that emotional stress stored in my body, and my body,
Right.
that's just how it manifested. So that really stayed with me and kind of became a big part of the work I do now, which is tuning into trapped emotions and how do we release what we've been holding for
Right.
sometimes a very, very long time.
Right, which if you went into Western medicine world, they would have told you had some kind of like hand and feet sweating condition, and then
Yeah. Well, and it is, but there's an emotional, spiritual component to it.
correct,
I mean,
exactly. It
they
gets
want,
exacerbated. It gets worse because it's suppressed, and then it starts playing out more frequently, where even if it was connected to the physical body, dealing with the energetic portion actually can give us the ability to manage it better or not have it show up as frequently, and actually also address how it shows up, because it might be particular emotions or lack thereof that are showing up, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that when I do these things or when I'm feeling this way, oh, that's my trigger response. So
exactly. Yeah. So definitely, looking back on those different experiences that we have in our lives, can explain a lot, can
yeah.
explain a lot. And if we are holding on to all of that, it is going to manifest in some sort of dis-ease,
Yeah.
disease.
So how old were you when you lost when your brother had a tragic accident that sadly ended up taking his life? Like, how old were you at this time?
Yes. Well, because of the divorce, my brother and I were best friends. We
Mhm.
really leaned on each other, and a little bit of a codependency there. I
Yeah.
needed to take care of him in order for me to feel safe, and he let me. So
Right.
we were very, very close.
I had one of those too with my
Right?
sister. Like, yeah,
Yes, exactly.
we're still working on that one,
Yeah.
but
It happens. It happens.
yeah.
Did you know that we at Capital Health have been working on an app that's never been created before? And with all the excitement around it, we've decided to give you an opportunity to become a Capital Health founder. Capital Health founders get exclusive perks, including 3 to 6 months of full access of the app, a Capital Health t-shirt, and future founder-only benefits. The app itself is designed to meet you where you are, assessing your needs and creating customized workouts and personalized nutrition tailored specifically to you. In short, it's like having a trainer, nutritionist, and energy coach in your pocket without the massive expense of hiring each one individually. Founder opportunities are limited and only are available before the launch date. So head on over to capitalhealth.com to learn more on how to become a Capital Health founder and achieve your ideal health.
So I was 28 years old and he was 25. And he had been living in Hawaii, and it was a tragic hiking accident. And it's interesting because I know we've talked a little bit about the story, and I can kind of go more into that. But I had a really, really interesting thing happen a couple of weeks ago since we last talked, actually, where I just got this divine download of I need to write that story. I need to write a short book about that awakening journey and how I started hearing songs on the radio that spoke to me, seeing, signs and number patterns, 1111, and all the different things. And because we had some really, really crazy signs that we
Mhm.
were given. And I know that other people need to hear that. They need to hear, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I see numbers too. I hear, oh, really? So hearing songs is a form of clairaudience. What is that? getting downloads with goosebumps. That's claircognizance. What is that? So
Yeah.
I've started just, it's just whoosh, it just kind of came in. And so I'm actually really, really excited about adding that book to the collection of books that I have for children, which are, breath work and different healing modalities to
Yes,
move energy.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We're going to talk about that in a little bit after.
Oh, good. I know
It's
there's
on the list. It's on
so
the
much
list.
to say. So yes, he was 25 and I was 28, and that was I was teaching elementary school at the time and living in Austin, Texas, and that was just one of those. Wow, this is what's going on here. This is huge.
Yeah. What happened with the hiking accident? And can you give us kind of a glimpse of, some of the things that not disclosing all of what's going into your book, but just giving us a little bit of tidbits of how looking back at it, you saw some of the messaging that was coming through during the time of his loss, because a lot of times we don't realize, when we're in the middle of it, if you're able to pause and glance and kind of look at it, you can actually see some of the messaging as it's happening in the moment of chaos, which it creates that it's like it's such a direct, like in the midst of chaos there's this profound beauty that life presents, that is very unique. I remember in some of like the hardest times, there was always something that was, it was even the stillness or hearing the birds chirping, right? And like providing life. And it was like, okay, you know what? If we're going through this and then oh, nope, actually things are going to carry on and we're going to get where we need to be. There's always a little bit of that glimmer. Even though we don't necessarily know to look at it, but what was it like for you in the midst of how things played out with him in the hiking accident and some of the messaging that came through during that experience?
Absolutely. Well, but prior to that, I hadn't been to any kind of uplifting funeral services. First of all, typically they're in kind of some dark, funeral home or, something like that. And so here we are in beautiful Hawaii, right? So my father and I, we did a hike back to where the accident actually happened. He wanted to show me, it was a beautiful valley called Pololu, and it was a place that my brother loved and he would go often. And they'd had some earthquakes and then they'd had some rain and mudslides and, hence the unsteady terrain and the accident. So we got back into the valley and of course it was just heavy, heavy energy and just sadness. But like you said, there was such beauty there. And on the way out of the valley, it had been kind of a cloudy, overcast day, and the clouds kind of started to part and we could see some glimpses of the sun. And there was the most perfectly formed, not one rainbow, but two, a double rainbow. And I'd never seen anything. It took my breath away. I mean, it was so perfectly formed, both arcs of the rainbow. And the immediate thought that I got was, this is the bridge.
Yeah.
The Rainbow Bridge. And so that was just a really sweet moment in my tender heart. And then, a few days later was his memorial service, which was at the beach right before sunset. And as we were throwing our flower petals from our flower leis into the ocean, these sea turtles popped up. And I didn't know till later, but the sea turtles are a very, very spiritual,
very sacred,
very sacred animal totem. And I learned more about that later, but I'm getting to the juicy part now. So a couple days after that, my mother and I went to my brother's apartment because we had the task of cleaning and boxing things up and packing things up, and the things the tangible things that have to be done.
Yeah.
And of course that was just devastating. And we were both really struggling with it, holding onto his clothes and smelling them and, that kind of thing kind of still brings back some tenderness.
Absolutely.
And we were crying and having a bit of a rough time. And we came across this pair of just horrible, smelly tennis shoes. And I mean, they were so bad. And we just both just broke out into laughter. I mean, we were crying, we were laughing. It was just this perfect moment of comic relief. And we kept it to ourselves. We didn't tell anybody about it. That was just a special moment between the two of us. And a few days later, we were having a little potluck dinner, kind of a little island goodbye with some close family and friends, thanking them for their support during this time. And this Hawaiian woman came up to me that was a friend of the family. And she said, "I have a message for you from your brother." And I just kind of looked at her like, "What? You have what?" And she handed me this paper, and I was very skeptical. And I started reading the words. And there was a line that said, "I just want you to know that when you found the tennis shoes, I was laughing with you." And that was the moment that really changed everything for me. It was like, okay, wow. You know,
like 180 moment, like that 360, 180 moment where your body all of a sudden, like, it's like you become out of your body, but you're still in your body, but then you're also like morphing and twisting within your senses. And you can almost feel like you do this whole like rotation. I mean, it kind of like the Glambot picture is kind of like the way that you see that thing move is how your insides feel during that moment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I knew I would never be the same after that. I mean, I could have said, "Oh, just a pretty rainbow. That's great. Oh, sweet sea turtles. Okay, that's kind of a nice coincidence." But a woman who had no idea came to me with a message because I didn't realize she was a medium. She didn't even work as a medium. She just had these gifts and, said, "Here it is. This is from your brother." And my brother says, "I was there with you and I was laughing with you. And I just want to let you know that I'm good. Everything's fine. I'm okay." And
like his last stink bomb,
Yeah, I know. And just so perfect. And I still remember, I mean, that was, over 25 years ago, and I still remember it so vividly. And that changed the course of everything for me. I really it cracked me wide open to all the signs, all the numbers, all the intuitive gifts that I have and what I'm supposed to be doing here. It's just all started unfolding.
I love the fact that, in the delivery of your story, you don't get hooked and set onto the physical dynamics of the terrain, what his physical body went through, how the intricate details. Sometimes when we hold on, and that shows a level of the healing that you've done with it, right? Because, and even though I'm sure these details will go into the book and for more of the visionary aspects of the audience, but it's the really important thing is like, the focus was he was in a place that he was on a regular basis, a place that he considered which I would assume would be his safe haven, his reset, his rebirth aspect, right? To be able to have the opportunity to transition out with the views of one of your favorite places to go to. That in itself is a massive blessing. And then being able to be so like, especially when you go, to the islands, it's a magic land there. And so being there in a place where, as the family is communing from that tragedy, you're in a magical land to where there's representation from other people that also have mana within them, which is, mana is the term for magic, right? At the islands, especially. And, it's one of the things I love. That's one of the things I absolutely love about, Hawaiian culture. I'm married to a Hawaiian, a Pacific Islander. So, I don't know if I said,
I don't think you told me that. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah. So my husband is Polynesian descent, and our children are a complete mix between the two. We've had my daughter do hula classes and all the different things, and like me trying to find a blend of like my family's like kind of a little bit of the hoity-toity decoratives and presentation mixed with the island culture. But I always like to bring in that aspect of it because there is so much ancestral
um, inheritance of, those types of things, like my background. It wasn't until after I had really like honored and embodied my intuitive abilities to the point where I was speaking out about them much more largely, like I had in my earlier years, but just not 100%. And but even though I would still talk with things with my mother, and she never shamed, or even if she didn't understand certain things. And I finally said to her one day, like, is it weird that I talk like that, I do this, or that I talk like that? She's like, no, we come from a long list of shamans and ministers. And I was like, what, like, what? Like, why did you not tell me this before? Like, I would have not have felt like a cuckoo the whole process, but then here on my husband's side of the family, they have the same thing where, my husband for years as a child saw spirits and didn't understand it and just kept his mouth shut, thought he was crazy. And then when he was in service, he held and was protected by his ancestral spirits that, have been watching over him. And when he had mentioned it to his mother, she just was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, that's totally normal. And then but it was like, those are the things that we didn't really necessarily speak about. So I love the fact that you were in the land of mana, and that is a kind of normalcy there, that to which you were able to receive the messaging, where had you been in a different state on the mainland, it would have been a little bit of a different story, a little bit of, who's this quirky weirdo like coming through, and you may not have been in a place to be able to receive, which was the massive catalyst of breaking open your box, right? Like,
This is so true. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, it is such a spiritual place. I mean,
right.
you definitely, you feel it when you're there. And my brother felt it. And I think that, he had some writing that we found later in some journals, something to the effect of, I want to use the time that I have left to connect with people. I think he had some premonition. I think that he had been, he had some knowing and some psychic abilities. And, I think we've talked about this before, but, we do these catalyst moments are not random. They're spiritually planned,
Right.
by everybody involved. And, our highest selves are always aware of the plan, even though our physical selves are not. And so I believe that he was tapping into some type of premonition of knowing, which he didn't share with any of us. Of course, he didn't want us to worry, but I think he knew that this was kind of the inevitable, and it was for a purpose. And it really has been that evolution, that awakening catalyst for my whole family. And so, it was hard. It was that grief, but it was, so many beautiful things have come out of it. And when I tell people that, I wouldn't change the hard things that have happened to me, that kind of almost sounds cold, but it's, we wouldn't be where we are if we didn't have these things. And it could be an illness. It could be a battle with cancer. It could be a divorce. It could be the loss of a job. It could be anything that in the moment is just hits you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Did you know that we at Capital Health have been working on an app that's never been created before? And with all the excitement around it, we've decided to give you an opportunity to become a Capital Health founder. Capital Health founders get exclusive perks, including 3 to 6 months of full access of the app, a Capital Health t-shirt, and future founder-only benefits. The app itself is designed to meet you where you are, assessing your needs and creating customized workouts and personalized nutrition tailored specifically to you. In short, it's like having a trainer, nutritionist, and energy coach in your pocket without the massive expense of hiring each one individually. Founder opportunities are limited and only are available before the launch date. So head on over to capitalhealth.com to learn more on how to become a Capital Health founder and achieve your ideal health.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing is like when I look at it as, getting to the point, I don't see coldness in getting to a place of acceptance over our story, right? Like, a lot of people sometimes people will make the grand assumption of when you discuss your story, like you're still living by it, you're still owning it, it's still a part of you. And it's like, no, it's just part of the tale of my evolution of self. And so there is a little bit of differences, but I'm curious a little bit of how in that process of having lost one of the biggest best friends, your brother, like, I mean, like, because that's what he was. Like, he was kind of like your twin flame in a
Yeah.
sense. And I'm kind of curious a little bit on how that unraveling for you, it opened up this box. I want to know, how did it affect your mother and her advancing of evolution of self? Because, and the reason why I ask this is because as I've gone through a lot of my waves of healing, especially in the more recent years, because we've been we've been really trimming fat the last.
Oh yeah,
we've been trimming a lot of fat, even though I feel a little inflamed from the growth points. But there's a lot of extras that have extra deeper entanglements that have been released in the last couple of years. And it's actually presented some very interesting conversations that I've had with my own mother, where I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be able to go into the complexities of some of that conversation with my mother, because my mother is very much she's an observer. She kind of she chose to come down here and kind of, yes, she had some things that she experienced, but then she kind of sits and rests in a place of observation. And she won't dive into the philosophical complexities. Like, I will very much just like, I'll even get the washboard out. Like, yeah. And then I'm like hanging out to dry, then I get a washboard again.
Yeah,
And,
cycle.
Yes, exactly. And like, but I kind of imagine it of like the old washboards, like when you had to use horses to go around and mix everything in, because that's how undertaking it is. But like, that's where I go in, because that's part of how I'm created, and part of my purpose, and part of my mission. But I never really dragged her into it, but I would always share. And, she's kind of my verbal diary, and always has been. So at least I have to give her props for that, because I talk a lot. And then, poor thing, like, her ears are burning constantly. So, but the thing that I loved from it is that then at some point, with some of the newer things that I've been working on, the newer projects, the newer things I'm creating, and as she's hearing me talk about some of these things, she herself has started asking questions. And then it started going from one question to, okay, how can I be a better mother to you? How can I have better communication with your children? How can I do these types of things? Now, I have to give her props, because she does have, her history of psychology. She is one of the top drug rehab specialists in the Chicago area for teens, adolescents, and also later on wrote some of the adult programs that people still utilize today. But it was interesting though, because the language was different. Even though she was her own form of healer for more of the physical body, the language was a little bit different. And so I dive in more to the energetics, that it's something that she didn't understand. But I found that because of the work that I've done, it unraveled something within her. And so I'm curious, did you end up having a similar effect with your mom? Did she start having certain things? And this is after she got through some of the grief points, because the grief is a forever thing, right? Like, you can't really fully ever get rid of it. It's learning to live and embrace and honor the process, rather than you can't get over losing a child. Just
Right.
You can't. Yeah.
Exactly. No, and what a wonderful thing to talk about, because my parents both have handled this very differently. And my mother, to me, she seems like almost a completely different soul, completely different human being. She had a lot of anger after the divorce. She was kind of volatile person. She and my brother would butt heads a lot. They were kind of like oil and water. There was so much love there, but there was just so much intensity there.
Right.
And, after, like you said, I mean, good long time of kind of being in the dark there, grieving. But she's an artist, and so she started writing poetry shortly after. She'd always painted. She's a beautiful painter, but she started writing poetry, and some of her first poems were very sad and kind of dark, and over time they became lighter, and
Right.
we started sharing a lot of our journey with each other, the signs and things that we were finding and seeing and hearing. And one of the things, another sweet little sign that would pop up for us a lot is when my brother and I were young, we got bunnies for Easter one year, real bunnies, right? I'm not sure what my mother was thinking. And my brother named his bunny Brown Bunny. And I really gave him a lot of grief for that, because I'm like, oh, that's really original. And I got
one of those.
Yeah. And I named my bunny Muffler, which for some reason made perfect sense to me. So we had these bunnies. And so Brown Bunny was his bunny. And so one of the signs that we still get even to this day is brown bunnies, right? Sometimes they'll be in the yard. Sometimes we'll be out, in a gift shop, and we'll see brown bunnies on a napkin or a coffee mug, or, they just kind of pop up and say hello.
Yeah.
So we started sharing these signs, and she just really, really, really started opening up, and I could really see that she was on this beautiful spiritual journey. And so much of the anger that she'd been holding for so long really seemed to be lessening and leaving her. And she just really became so much happier. And not only was she writing poetry, but she started writing books, and she started writing, she wrote a book about the little boy Danny and the sea turtle, the Honu, in Hawaii. And she started writing children's books on grief. And she's actually got one that the title is really sweet, but kind of tough, but it's, Dear Diary, my brother died today. And it's, it's for children dealing with grief and loss. And children, as we know, are so much more open to a lot of these spiritual signs, and to not question, and to, to ask for them and to look for them. So her journey has been through her creation, through her grief, her creation she's really been able to kind of morph to the other side of that, where she now sees the love, the light, the blessings, the ability to live with her child in spirit. And yeah, so that has been really incredible.
Yeah, she really had to go through the dark parts of the emotions, which is a beauty, that she was courageous enough to pour through those feelings instead of dismiss and suppress and then have them take root and then turn into bitterness and everything else, right? It's like, even though the writings went into a dark place, it reminds me of the artist Ren, right? Ren is amazing. Like, one of, I understand the darkness from that because of my childhood on so many levels, but at the same time, I also didn't pour into it. Like, I see it, and I'm just like, wow. And he has this just tremendous beauty to be able to transform himself into showing the world what that can look like and how it feels, and bring it through sound. But then also, he's got this, I don't know, this evolution of creation of just awe. His light is just magnifying, it's potent, and it's changing. To the point where you don't feel dark, listening to some of his stories and some of the reflection that he does, because his abilities are so magical that you can't not just be in jaw-dropping awe, and then your whole body's just like, oh my God, I've got chills everywhere, because so you're getting the positive you're getting it mixed, the yin and yang mixed into it. But with you, I think it's interesting because you do
the stories, you do the children's stories, you do the breath work, you do the really the nervous regulation, and you've really created, identify where you're at, where you need to be, how to identify what's happening within your body, even being able to address, those skills into a regular repetitious behavior pattern, or at least when I am in awareness and I need this, this is what you need to do. And so you've really poured a lot into the caretaking methods for you during the process, which I absolutely love. Can you please share with us how you created such magic within yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I wanted to just kind of step back just a minute, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I mentioned that, my parents kind of took different approaches, and my
Mhm.
father's way of kind of dealing with the grief has been, I guess I want to say, in a man's way, and my stepmother as well, much more kind of practical, like,
Yeah.
what can we do? And,
The fixing, the
yes,
fixer.
yes.
Yeah, the
And so,
masculine fixer.
yes. And so part of the, as you know, with Hawaii, part of the challenge with a recovery of someone who's, fallen into a valley is the terrain, and the rescuers, the firefighters, they didn't have the equipment. They don't have the budget out there. I mean, a rescue, in Dallas, Texas, or Austin, Texas, isn't going to be, a scuba diving rescue, or, a mountain climbing
Mountains,
rescue,
yeah.
that kind of thing. And so they dove into, okay, wow, you firefighters, you risked your lives rappelling from a helicopter. You didn't have ropes that were long enough. You didn't have equipment that was new enough. You still risked your lives to bring his body back to us, knowing that he was gone.
Right.
And so how can we help? And so I just wanted to mention that they have raised, over the past 25 years, millions and millions and millions of dollars for the Hawaii County Fire Department, for new helicopters and fire trucks and rescue equipment and rescue boats and scuba equipment and training. And so they have channeled their energy in a different way,
Wow.
which has been really
That's tremendous.
a healing journey for them. So, yeah, so it's really beautiful to see what happens, what different people decide to do with their grief, and,
Yeah.
everybody has their way of dealing with it. And so, for me, diving into and kind of foraying back to the little girl with the sweaty hands, okay, I'm storing a lot of stress and strain and grief in my body. And now I'm kind of opening up to the spiritual realms. How can I kind of tap into all this, heal myself, but, learn these tools and then share them with other people? So, I became an energy healer. I became a yoga teacher. I mean, this is all, over the past 25 years, but it did feel like it was bam, bam, bam. I want more. I want
Right.
more. Give me
Right.
more. A health coach, a breathwork teacher. And so now I'm at the place where, yes, I am so grateful I have these tools, because, as we know, everyday life is stressful, and we feel the energies of the collective, and we feel energies that don't belong to us. And so the discernment of what is mine and what is not, and
Right.
how do I protect my nervous system, and then how do I use these tools like breath work and tapping and meditation and yoga to transform and transmute
Yeah.
the different energies that we come in contact with every day.
Yeah. It's amazing how, some of the things that we didn't know were some of the most simplistic thing. It's like it's not just breathing in and inhaling and exhaling, it's breath counts. It's, where the breath travels within our body, where where our body free to us. And it's like we had all these healing abilities, regulation, like nervous regulation systems, if we open ourselves up into discovering how to do so. And I love that. It's like, and you've done the work yourself, but also at the same time, you've also figured out ways to be able to deliver and teach and be able to have it be not just hitting one person at a time, but also trying to mainstream it so that people can continue to do the work and enhance what they're looking for, so that they don't have to do the research. They don't have to spend their time doing the research. They can just go and be like, oh, here's a reliable source. I get to benefit and partake. And then, oh, wow, that did make me feel better. Stressful workday these days.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, so yes, I've created an app called Vitality Life Online, and it has a bunch of meditations that are embedded with different healing vibrations and even different brainwave frequencies to really help you get into that calm state. I have a breathwork course so you can learn about what your breath can do for you with a lot of different breathwork activities. I have a section for kids. I have some yoga flows on there and some healthy recipes. And then I've taken some of that content for children and created a couple of children's books with different breathwork exercises to teach them at a young age.
Awesome.
How do I self-regulate, because as we know, kids, and then, I'm working on my teen book. I have my manuscript right here. I'm getting close. So my teen book is going to get also more into, social media and, fear of missing out and, all of the other things that, we had to deal with, but it's different now. It's so different, and it's so much more heightened today. So, so I'm excited. I feel like that, what we have to offer is so needed, and just getting it out there. My books are just going to be really, everything, my books, my app, 5 minutes, simple, simple. You just need to just sit down, give yourself 5 minutes of self-care, presence time, and you feel it right away. You feel that difference right away.
So how can our audience find you? Where can they look you up? Please.
Yes. Well, easiest way is to just go to my website, which is my name, lauradunworth.com. And on there, they will see links to my app, to my books, to the courses that I teach, to working with me one-on-one. Everything's right there on my website.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. So before we sign off, I know that you're the philosophy to which you live by is to smile, breathe, soften, and move forward. But if there is any messaging that you could give us, either quotes or things to live by, what can you leave us with today to embody?
Goodness. Presence is key, right? And, as we know that every time you look around, it's kind of a reminder of how fleeting and precious life is, and just to do the things that make you happy, to take some things off of your to-do list. We have plenty of time to live our life, and we need to enjoy every day. And I'll go back to that acronym of pause. If you're struggling with something, pause. Perhaps another unseen solution exists.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the Capital Life today. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the future for sure.
Absolutely, Abby. Thanks again for having me. I look forward to it.
Thanks for joining me today on the Capital Life, where we talk about all the things that life brings. Join us next time as we dive in even more deeper, because life is changing and the world is spinning. But remember to take care of yourself, because you are somebody's everything.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and Facebook at Capital Health. That's KAPITOL Health. Please share with your friends and family. The Capital Life is available on all podcasting platforms except Pandora. Our goal at the Capital Life is to provide a safe place to get information when it comes to your health and wellness, especially when dealing with all of life's phases. Remember to take care of yourself, because you're somebody's everything.